Steelers Nation, gather in, because today's update is absolutely packed. And before we get into anything, I want to remind everyone that this team is working every single day to improve, to get better, to refine the details, and to chase the results that this city expects. Pittsburgh is fighting to stay alive in the AFC playoff race, and you can feel the urgency in every move they're making. So before we dive into today's major roster news, the quarterback controversy, and the heated accusations surrounding Aaron Rodgers, do me one quick favor. Hit that like button to support the channel and push this video to more Steelers fans. And just a quick reminder, Steelers fans, if you want official Steelers gear, whether it's a TJ Watt jersey, cold weather hoodies, hats, or the newest Sideline pieces, the link to the official Fanatics store is below. They updated daily with new releases, and grabbing your gear through that link also supports the channel. All right, let's talk about the newest Steeler and the growing storm surrounding the quarterback position. After yet another tough loss, this time to the Buffalo Bills, the injury list in Pittsburgh just keeps growing. And the latest blow? Patrick Queen, the leader of the defense, the green dot communicator, suffered a glute contusion that forced him out of the game and has put his Week 14 status in serious doubt. With linebacker depth evaporating, the Steelers made a move they absolutely had to make. The Steelers have officially signed former USC star Kanai Mauga to the practice squad. Now, Mauga isn't just some name being tossed into the mix. This is a guy with 206 career tackles at USC, 105 solo tackles, 5 passes defended, 6 sacks, 3 interceptions, and a reputation for being a tough, physical, instinctive inside linebacker. He was a 3-year starter at one of the biggest football programs in the country. Yet somehow, he went undrafted in 2022, eventually getting his first shot with the Denver Broncos as a UDFA. He didn't make the roster there, but he later found a home with the Los Angeles Raiders, appearing in 17 games between 2023 and 2024. Most recently, he spent the early part of the 2025 season with the Los Angeles Chargers before being released. Because right now, this team has a linebacker crisis. Queen is injured. Cole Holcomb is still battling back from previous issues. Peyton Wilson is playing through pain. Malik Harrison is doing everything he can to keep this unit afloat. And that leaves the Steelers with only 3 healthy inside linebackers heading into the most important game of the season versus the Baltimore Ravens. So no, Mauga probably won't be activated for this week's game. But yes, he brings desperately needed depth, fresh legs, energy, and someone who can help run practices while the starters heal. And honestly, the defense could use all the fresh energy it can get. The highest-paid defense in the NFL has been shockingly inconsistent and ranks near the bottom in several major statistical categories. If Mauga can bring just a spark, just a little toughness, a little juice, it could help this team more than fans realize. But as big as this signing is, it isn't even the biggest story today. Yes, you heard that right. In the last 48 hours, multiple former players and analysts have raised red flags about Aaron Rodgers' influence over the Steelers' offense, and it's leading to serious concern inside the fan base. On his Footballing with Ben Roethlisberger podcast, Big Ben said he had heard that Aaron Rodgers was just calling plays over offensive coordinator Arthur Smith during the Steelers' brutal 26-7 loss to Buffalo. This alone was explosive. But then came the confirmation from someone else. Chris Sims doubled down. Speaking on the This Is Football with Kevin Clark podcast, former quarterback Chris Sims said, "I do believe the offense has been hijacked by Aaron Rodgers to a degree." He added that some of the plays you're seeing are not called in the huddle. And he pointed to Rodgers' comments after the Bills game when he said certain receivers didn't know the right route because they missed film sessions as proof that Rodgers is doing his own thing at the line of scrimmage. Sims continued, "He hijacks a lot of plays, so it's really hard to tell what Arthur Smith calls and doesn't call. For a franchise that prides itself on structure and discipline, this is a massive storyline. Because if your 42-year-old quarterback is ignoring your offensive coordinator, if he's freelancing plays, if he's overriding the scheme, then guess what? You don't have an offense. You have chaos. And chaos is exactly what Pittsburgh looked like last week. Sims also raised another major concern, maybe the most important one yet. He believes that Aaron Rodgers is playing like he still thinks it's 2014. But it's not. Rodgers is 42 years old, playing with a fractured left wrist, coming off multiple injuries, struggling with mobility, and posting one of the lowest statistical outputs of his career. Sims pointed directly to the film. When Rodgers tried to extend plays, he took a brutal safety versus the Chargers. He took a strip sack versus Buffalo. He lost a fumble that turned into a touchdown, and he completed just 10 of 21 passes for 117 yards in Week 13. The truth is, he can't move like he used to, and it's hurting the team. Rodgers, however, isn't panicking. Ahead of this week's monumental matchup with the Ravens, a game that will decide who moves into first place in the AFC North, Rodgers insists he's calm and ready. But the question now isn't whether Rodgers is calm. It's whether he's realistic. Because if he tries to play hero ball against Baltimore, things could go south fast. Both teams enter Week 14 at 6-6. Both teams are fighting for the AFC North, and both teams are desperate. Baltimore's defense will be aggressive. They're going to hit Rodgers early. They're going to test that wrist. They're going to force him to move, something he hasn't done effectively in years. The Steelers cannot afford another offensive meltdown like the one in Buffalo. They cannot afford Rodgers going rogue. They cannot afford miscommunication. This game may define the rest of the season. This Sunday, the Steelers walk into MT Bank Stadium to face the Baltimore Ravens in one of the biggest games of the entire season. Both teams enter at 6-6, both teams fighting for survival in the AFC North, and the winner takes control of the division heading into the final stretch. Everyone knows Baltimore is tough at home. Everyone knows the Ravens have had Pittsburgh's number at times. Vegas sees the Steelers as underdogs, which honestly is nothing new. But Steelers fans, things might not be what they seem. Because as the week unfolds, the Ravens are quietly dealing with a major problem that could completely flip this matchup on its head. Ravens star quarterback Lamar Jackson has already missed time this season because of a nagging ankle injury. He's played just 9 games, he's been limited in mobility, and now the injury has reappeared at the worst possible time for Baltimore. Here's what we know. Jackson was limited in the Ravens' first practice of the week. In their next session, he wasn't on the field at all. His status for Week 14 is now officially in doubt. That is huge.
This isn't some minor tweak. This isn't a veteran rest day. This is your franchise quarterback, this centerpiece of Baltimore's entire offense, missing time during the biggest week of their season. And Steelers fans, here's where things get interesting. We all saw what happened against Buffalo. The Steelers' run defense played one of the worst games in franchise history, and I mean franchise history. At home, in front of their own fans, Pittsburgh allowed more rushing yards than they ever have at Acrisure Stadium or Heinz Field. Mike Tomlin himself came out and said run defense would be the #1 priority this week. And now, there's a real chance they won't have to deal with Lamar Jackson's dual threat ability at all. If Lamar can't go, or even if he plays but is clearly limited, the entire structure of the Ravens' offense changes. No more scrambling outside the pocket, no more zone read nightmares, no more extending plays with his legs. Instead, the focus shifts to one man, Derrick Henry. And as dominant as Henry can be, the Steelers' defense can survive a one-dimensional Baltimore offense far better than they can survive the Lamar-Henry combination. Jackson being sidelined or hobbled removes 50% of the Ravens' running attack. It also removes their biggest playmaker in crucial situations. Now here's where things get even bigger. if Pittsburgh beats Baltimore on Sunday, here's what happens. Pittsburgh improves to 3-1 in the AFC North. Baltimore drops to 1-2 in the division. Steelers take a 1-game lead in the AFC North. Steelers earn the head-to-head tiebreaker, meaning Pittsburgh would take control of the division with only 4 weeks remaining. Right now, the Steelers' playoff chances sit somewhere in the still alive but needs help range. But a win against Baltimore, especially a road win, would send their postseason odds skyrocketing. And honestly, it wouldn't just move them closer to a wildcard spot. This would put Pittsburgh directly in the AFC North driver's seat. Imagine that. After the chaos, after the injuries, after the inconsistency, after the humiliating run defense performance, Pittsburgh could walk out of Week 14 leading the division. So, even with Lamar Jackson hurt, even with Baltimore's offense shaken, Pittsburgh still has to play their best football. And the truth is, this team has struggled recently on both sides of the ball. The offense has stalled in key moments. The defense gave up record-setting rushing numbers. The team's energy has come into question. Mistakes and slow starts have been costly. They need a complete game. They need discipline. They need execution. They need focus. They need to start December the way every Steelers fan hopes, with intensity, with physicality, and with urgency. And that's the challenge, because nothing about this season has come easy. Nothing about the AFC North ever comes easy. But the opportunity is there. The door is open. And if the Steelers capitalize on Lamar Jackson's injury situation and play their brand of football, they could transform their entire season in one afternoon. So today, we got a new linebacker signed, Patrick Queen's status uncertain, a defense searching for energy, accusations that Aaron Rodgers is calling his own plays, concerns about his physical ability, and a showdown with Baltimore that might determine the entire AFC North race. Steelers Nation, this is a lot. But now, I want to hear from you. Do you believe Aaron Rodgers is hijacking the Steelers' offense? And do you think he can beat Baltimore on Sunday? Is this signing of Kanai Muga actually more important than people realize? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. And don't forget, hit like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. And don't forget, the official Steelers store link is down below if you want to check out the newest gear. Because more Steelers breaking news is coming, and you won't want to miss it. Here we go, Steelers Nation.